Hey, everybody! I would say happy summer because it feels like summertime out here. And it is the first day of March. We are in the middle of a warm spell. All the trees are budding out and blooming. The daffodils are blooming. The wisteria is blooming. It's just beautiful. Yeah, the chickens are finally laying eggs again. I mean, so good. So, today we are going to be reviewing one of my favorite season 3 two-parters, and that is Piper Maru and Apocrypha. Now, these episodes, I don't think this is really obscure trivia that the episode Piper Maru is named for Gillian Anderson's daughter, Piper, who was famously born during the second season of The X-Files. Oh, Piper, almost 30 years old. Feel old yet? That's what I always say when I see a picture of her. I'm like, I knew you when you were a baby. Yeah, if you want to feel old, Gillian Anderson's daughter, who was born during season 2 of The X-Files, Piper's going to be 30 soon, so there you go. So today we are going to be reviewing Piper Maru, not the woman, but the episode of The X-Files. Piper also does some pretty ballin' art, apparently. She's a pretty awesome artist. Go check out her art. I think she's on Instagram. So, this episode, is really good. It has some great character moments. It has some great relationship moments. And, not just between Mulder and Scully. It has great relationship moments between, Mulder and Krycek. Love to see those two gay boys interact. And between, Skinner and Scully. Their father-daughter bond, and it's got some other great stuff in it, and we're going to talk about it today, so let's get into it. So the episode begins with these French divers, and on my Twitter rewatch thread this week, I said, a Frenchman going to the bottom of the ocean and discovering some weird shit, and I said, don't make a SpongeBob joke. Don't make a SpongeBob joke. So this French diver, who is named Gautier, gets into this big-ass diver suit and goes to the bottom of the goddamn ocean. But he does not find Bikini Bottom. Instead, he finds a World War II downed plane. And also, maybe a UFO. We're not sure. Oh, my cat Luna's here. Hello. Hello, pretty. So, he gets to the bottom of the ocean. He sees the World War II plane. And he hears someone banging on its window. And these two episodes have some fantastic horror moments in them. If you don't watch it for any other reason, just watch it for that. It's got some legitimately scary moments. I didn't forget my water today. So, Gautier sees this man trapped inside the plane. He's been trapped for, what is it? This is 1996, I believe, is when this episode aired. So this man has been trapped alive inside of this plane for about 50 years. A fate worse than death. Gautier sees his eyes and he sees them cloud over with the black oil, the alien virus, which looks and acts like black oil. The next scene we see Gautier surface. His friends have pretty much given him up for dead. And they pull off the diver helmet and they're like, what the fuck, man? Where were you? And Gautier is like, oh, LOL, I just got disoriented. That's a red flag. I just got done watching Nexpo. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. Their horror mini-series on like fear of the deep, of the ocean, and this very much figures into that. It's got all that spooky ocean shit in it. So Gautier's like, oh yeah, LOL, I'm fine. And then the scene like does a close-up of his eyes and you see it cloud over with the black oil. Don't know why the other Frenchman, don't know why his friends don't notice this, but whatever. People notice the black oil on the X-Files when it's plot convenient, as many things are in the X-Files. So then you get the credits and or the opening sequence, and then you see Scully. She's at the bureau headquarters. There's this guy behind her, and he's like running for the elevator, and this actor is giving it 120%, man. He's like, this is my 15 seconds of fame, and damn it, I'm going to make the most of it. The elevator's about to close, and he says, oh, hold it, hold it, hold it, and he's running for it. And I'm like, good job, dude. Gave it your all. So, Skinner pops out of his office and tells Scully he needs to talk to her. He has a secretary named Kimberly. And I think throughout the series, Mr. Skinner goes through, 3 secretaries, but I could be wrong. Anyway, this one's named Kimberly. She's rad. He tells her to get lost. And he tells Scully, he says, your sister's case, Melissa, Scully's sister, who was murdered at the beginning of season 3, he says her murder investigation case has been closed. And anyone who believes Gillian Anderson is anything but an amazing actress needs to watch this episode of The X-Files. This is one of my favorite Scully moments. And I think if any other actor or actress had played this moment, they would have reacted with just anger or just sadness. Scully reacts with a range of emotions, and she doesn't even have to say a word. It's all Gillian's facial features doing this, and it's incredible. Like, she's bewildered, she's grieving, she's lividly angry, and it's all going across Gillian's face. She doesn't even say a word. And she turns to go, and you really think she's going to go out quietly, and she turns back, and she fucking goes off on Skinner. She gives this speech. Like I said, it's one of my favorite Scully moments. My rabbit is behind me. Don't know if you can see him. There he is. Hey, buddy. One of them's drinking his water very loudly, I might add. Rabbits, right? If it's not cats, it's rabbits. Hey, Luna, you want to come here? Kitty, 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 kitty. You want to come sit with me? Hi, you want to do... Nah, Luna's like, I'm not interested in a review. I just want to eat. I just want to eat Friskies. So, Scully makes this speech about how men can blow up bombs and not be anywhere near the bomb site, and people can pinpoint their exact location and like even know their background. Like, she says people can even know if they're a bedwetter, but she says in the case of my sister, we can't even get enough evidence together to keep people interested. And this makes me think of something a teacher told me once, a long time ago, when I was a younger woman. And the teacher said that people will begin caring about something when a cis-het privileged white man begins caring about it. And I thought, oh boy, howdy, ain't that the truth? And yeah, I mean, and with this instance, with Melissa's murder investigation, it's later revealed that the shadow government wants to keep the killer protected. But in this instance, we're led to believe that people just don't care. Either way, it's fucked up. I've heard a lot of commentary on, like, why people need to teach their little boys to care about feminism, to care about the civil rights of minorities and marginalized people and queer people. And it's because privilege, the people with privilege and resources in our society are usually privileged cishet white men. And when they join a cause, you see the resources pour into that cause. And I want to believe that that's beginning to change. But wouldn't the change go much faster if everyone, including the privileged cishet white people who get entitled in our society, pour their privilege into that to make that change? And of course, here it works the opposite way. Scully believes, no people are privileged or interested in this. So this is why it's being cast on the wayside. This episode has some wonderful moments between Skinner and Scully. A lot of people ship Skinner and Scully. I don't personally, but I can see it. Okay, I can see that. After all, she does kiss Skinner before she kisses Mulder in the series. So in a very well-lit kiss, I might add. Oh boy, if you want to get the MSR shippers going, just remind them of that. That's pretty messed up. But I always see Skinner and Scully as having this father-daughter relationship, and this episode puts it on full display, like how they have this very nice bond, which I believe is platonic, the love between a father and a daughter. And I didn't realize this until I rewatched the series starting in 2019, that Skinner didn't really start to step up and fill this void in Scully's life of a paternal figure until her dad died, which makes me sob into my pillow thinking about it. Anyway, my hand is cramping. My fingers are going to sleep. So, Skinner's like, hey, listen, I'm on your side. And Scully's still just so pissed off. And then she literally is just told her sister's murder investigation case has been closed. And she has to go to the basement and listen to Mulder's UFO bullshit. And you see it on Scully's face. She's like, I don't have time for this today. Like, I want to go take a bath and drink some tea. So Mulder, I'll give Mulder this. When she walks into his office, he can sense something is up. You see it on his face. Hey, some great acting by David Duchovny. I'll give credit where credit's due, okay? But then, like, Mulder's like, well, this fills my empathy quota for the next 5 years. Guess I don't have to care about anyone but myself ever again. Which is very much just like Mulder. Like, it's very, as far as Mulder being empathetic and caring towards anyone, in particular Scully, it's very much he takes one step forward and 2 steps back. And Mulder, you have known this woman long enough. When she says, I'm fine, everything's okay, things are obviously not. He should have stepped back and been like, yeah, I think something's going on. You need to, like, take a break. But of course, Mulder, the most empathetic person, right? Remember? He is just unable to do that. So, Scully gives another little speech where she says Mulder's in the middle of a desert with a shovel, and then she says, no, wait, a backhoe, what the fuck? I can't talk today. Which is just an addendum to her speech to Skinner. Dana Scully, I'm fucking done with these men's bullshit speech. So they head to San Diego. They see these French sailors, the Frenchmen who were with Goudier, the diver, in the beginning. And they're covered with just horrific radiation burns. Scully's looking at them. The doctor's like, oh yeah, the guy that piloted them to shore was this Goudier guy. Hello, Bumblebee. You're just checking me out. Okay, we just go on about your business, dude. He's like, yeah, this diver Goudier was the only person unaffected by these radiation burns. And he piloted the boat to shore. He's like, hey, he lives in San Francisco. So Mulder and Scully go to check out the ship, the Piper Maru. They get there, and the naval investigator guy, who was also on the show Supernatural, someone pointed that out to me on Twitter. He's the guy that says "okie dokie," which I love. It's slay. Anyone who says "okie dokie's fantastic. That's all I have to say. So they are talking to this guy, and he's like, "Look, you can come on board this ship. Like, he says you'll get more radiation from your cell phone than from this ship. Like, we've had people all over it all day, like, looking for traces of radiation. They can't find anything." They go on the ship. I seriously wonder if Mulder and Scully, like, get triggered from being on spooky ghost ships, considering what happened to them in .com. Great season 2 episode. Can't wait to review it. But they again, this show is like continuity. They definitely don't know her. So that would have been an amazing callback, by the way. It just in a lazy way. Like, Scully would turn to Mulder and be like, "Hey, remember when we were on that spooky Scandinavian ghost vessel?" So anyway, they go on this spooky ghost vessel. And Mulder finds the tape that was in the diver's costume, Goudier's costume, or his suit, I should say. And they're playing it, and they see on the tape, they see this World War II plane. Mulder says it looks like the fuselage of a plane. Scully, without missing a beat, says it is a North American P-51 Mustang. Love the men's reaction. It's Mulder and the naval investigator. They're not, like, offended that a woman would know this, which is a nice touch. I like that. They're not sexist or nasty about it. The naval investigator is very impressed. He's like, "Yeah, that's right." He's so happy. And then Mulder's just fucking aroused, okay? Like, he gets a boner hearing Scully say that. He says, "I just got really turned on." She looks at him, and listen, they banged after this, okay? They had sex. The Scully explains, like, "Yeah, my brothers used to put together these planes with my dad, these model planes with my dad." Again, give me a whole fucking show about the Scully kids growing up. Like, like I want to see that. I'll take it over any of the Mulder or Smoking Man boring as fuck bullshit. So, and like, Bill and Charlie were like putting together planes. They're like, Dana can't help us, just being little shits about it. And then Scully's like memorizing every single part of the plane so she can put it together from memory. And again, it's like Scully speaking German and Unruhe. Like, she saw this. The last time she saw this was when she was like, what, 7 years old? And now she knows exactly what this is. People talk about Mulder's photographic memory. Fuck, Scully has a photographic memory. All right. So, Scully's a smart baby. Her and Mulder split up. Mulder goes to find this Frenchman, Goudier, and Scully goes to talk to a Captain Johansson, who lives in her old neighborhood in San Diego, her old neighborhood from when she was a little girl. She's driving into the neighborhood, and she sees these little girls playing hopscotch. And I said on my Twitter rewatch thread, never has a game of hopscotch been more triggering. And she has this flashback of her and her sister Melissa when they were little kids. I'm not good at telling the ages of little kids, but Missy looks like she's maybe 10, and Scully would be maybe 7 or 8. They're playing hopscotch in these god-awful tights I was forced to wear when I was a little girl. And I fought my mom tooth and nail when she tried to put those on me. They're just these horribly uncomfortable white tights. I hate them. But she's having this memory, and a podcast, I'm trying to remember which one it was. I want to say it was Scully Nation. It's been discontinued, but they were talking about how this episode showcases how men and women grieve or face grief differently. Not because men and women are different emotionally or mentally, but because our society beats into them from infancy that they can only feel a certain way. And I'll talk about this a lot at length later on, but you see very much how Scully is handling her grief with sadness, with diplomacy, and with empathy towards other grieving people. Like, that's how she's coping. Mulder reacts with anger and violence, which we'll get there. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Scully has this heartbreaking moment. I can't really do it justice. And I think about the scene in the show The Fall, which is one of my favorite shows. I know, surprise, surprise. It's also a Gillian Anderson show. And there's a scene where one of the victims of Paul Spector, the serial killer on the show, is telling Stella Gibson, the protagonist of the show, also played by Gillian Anderson. This woman is telling her, like, my sister who was murdered by the serial killer, she's like, I can't remember life without her. Like, she's her little sister. This is how I believe Scully views Melissa. And this is why I think she has this flashback of them as small children, because, you know, Melissa was her mentor, her guide, her rock, her playmate, her protector. She was probably like a second mother to her. They were growing up in this house full of men. They were probably allies. And for Scully to lose that, it's like losing a part of herself. Like, she takes this very hard. And this episode and the one after it, Apocrypha, I think is the most this show gave Scully as a way to process this grief, and explore it. And it's crumbs. It's like, it's like Mulder in the beginning. They're like, well, this is all Scully needs, I guess. Like, yeah, that's how grief works. Totally. Fuck this show. I have lots of other things to say. So, she goes to see Captain Johansson, and hey, it's the creepy old man from Red Museum. The one who just Mulder and Scully just get in his car. And I'm like, don't do that, guys, please. Anyway, he's played by the same old man. She tells Captain Johansson, like, hey, I went to school with your son. He doesn't recognize Scully, which valid. I mean, the last time he probably saw her, she was like a little girl. But you see it on his face as he begins to talk to her, and he's like, oh yeah, I remember Dana Scully. I remember Admiral Scully's kid. Oh yeah. He's probably specifically remembering the time his son came home after Scully beat the shit out of him. And because he called a girl a name or something. Like, Scully was 100% out there as a small child, beating up boy bullies and making them cry. Yeah, this little petite redhead with her curls and her white tights. Yeah, she was wrecking boy bullies twice her size. Absolutely. And Melissa was like, what's the meme? Melissa's standing over there, like, she's like, oh, hold your flower, Dana, while you kick this boy's ass. So, after Captain Johansson has those disturbing flashbacks, Scully asks him, like, hey, do you know about this, this plane? and it's connected to this submarine called the Zeus Faber. The X-Files uses the word Zeus a lot in naming things, so make of that what you will. So, and again, you see Captain Johansson, he's like, no, I don't know anything about that. He's obviously lying. Scully is like, well, fuck it, I can't get anything out of this guy. And she's starting to leave. She goes to his window and she's like, this place brings back the memories. She's talking about the games the kids in the neighborhood used to play. And it's interesting to note that people begin to lower their barriers, their emotional barriers, when Scully shows her empathy towards them. Scully's extremely empathetic, and she's coming to Captain Johansson's house not so much as an investigator as a grieving person. And as you learn later, Captain Johansson is also grieving the death of his son, Scully's schoolmate, Richard. And that is what leads him to tell her what he knows, is that bond they have as just two grieving people. Like I said, this episode has wonderful moments of, but it's moments, it's crumbs. Like, we needed more of this, of Scully processing her grief, processing her trauma. You know, instead of this show just throwing abuse after her, and she does not get that space. Like, this is just crumbs. Imagine a whole cake of this, of this character development, and how wonderful that would have been. But of course, we don't get it because the show fucking hates women. Particularly, it hates one woman, Dana Scully. Scully's starting to leave. These naval guys, like, pull her over. You see the look on her face. She's like, oh, fuck, what now? Like, I'm gonna have to fight my way out of this one, too. Captain Johansson is there, and he starts telling her this story about when he was a young man. They were in a submarine during World War II. And he says, you know, the horrors that we unleashed on the Japanese were turned on us, which is implying that they were carrying some kind of nuclear weapon. They started getting these radiation burns, him and his shipmates. And the people on board the ship are going to mutiny because they want to surface. This is the only way they're going to get these sick men to help and not die themselves. The captain, of course, does not want to. And Johansson, young Captain Johansson, is talking to the medic who's taking care of the sick men. And I don't know why, but they just have this vibe that they're lovers. I cannot fucking explain it. It's just, I really get that vibe from them. So the medic, Johansson's boyfriend, is like, hey, bro, we got to surface or we're all going to sleep with the fishes and be in Davy Jones' locker. Johansson is like, hey, there's a Japanese plane circling us. Like, we can't. And he's like, you better surface or we're going to fucking mutiny, which is what happens. One of the sick men pulls a gun on the captain, and the captain's obviously not going to surface, so Captain Johansson and the medic lock him in there with all the sick men. And yeah, it's fucked up. Johansson's telling Scully, he's like, yeah, I knew I'd sealed the fate of those men when I sealed that door. So when I was a little girl, in our neighborhood, I knew a lot of World War II veterans, and I saw these people every day. They would pick up cans off the side of the road. One of them was our butcher. Another one was like a crossing guard at our school. I saw these people literally every day, and I think on one instance in the 13 to 14 years that I was a little girl, did I hear one of them talk about their wartime experiences. Yeah, it's fucked up. God damn. This is wonderfully written, the way this story is told. The X-Files is very good at that. When people tell stories to another character, they very much capture that atmosphere of listening to these spooky stories. However, it's like in Dwayne Barry, this man gets this space to process his trauma, and Scully gets exactly 0, or she gets these little seconds like she gets in this episode of just minutes of getting to process her trauma, while the men in the show get whole fucking episodes to do it. Like I said, this show fucking hates women, so there you go. People who say Chris Carter is not misogynistic, I'm like, are we talking about the same show? So the Scully calls Mulder. She's like, hey bro, this isn't a UFO that this French vessel found. It's a atom bomb. And Mulder's like, no, Scully, how can that be? And she's like, well, the guy who was piloting the submarine told me, motherfucker. Mulder's off looking for the diver, Goudier. Goudier goes to his house. I have a lot to say about the black oil. Okay, first of all, it's sentient. Because Goudier's like looking around the house. He's obviously possessed by this alien virus. He's looking at this picture of him and his fiance. So it's very much the black oil trying to figure things out about him. Don't know why the black oil couldn't just reach into his mind and figure this out, but go off. His fiance comes home and she hugs him, and then she gets weirded out by his behavior of him being detached, which I think is strange. And this is before she realizes he's possessed by this alien virus. So this is interesting. I don't think this is done intentionally, because look who wrote these episodes. White men. But the way I interpret it is like her immediately being on guard when he acts this way is she's seen this before. And I believe she was abused in some way by him. And that's why she has this reaction to him being very ominous and standoffish and threatening, is because he's reacted to her in this way before, violently or abusively. And then of course she sees his eyes, as I call them, his black oil bedroom eyes. I don't know why the fuck the black oil eyes look so damn sexy. There's no fucking reason they should, but this show makes them look sexy. So that's what I'm calling this vlog, black oil bedroom eyes. So she sees his black oil bedroom eyes. He chases her, and then he passes on the black oil to her, like it leaks out of him and gets into her. First of all, ew, gross. Second of all, why does the black oil body jump? Like with some people, but it doesn't with others. Later on in this episode, it infects Krycek, and it doesn't body jump until it gets back to its UFO. But it just, I mean, it's body jumping like mad in this fucking episode. Like, why does it do that? We don't fucking know. And this would have been amazing for the show to explore. Like, to show the physiology of this alien virus. And they just don't. Because this show is fueled by lazy and bad writing. That's the only explanation I have. So, Goudier, his fiance leaves. And it's very creepy to see her so terrified one moment, and then the next she's just calmly walking out the door. So then Mulder goes to Goodier's house. He's snooping around the man's house. He finds these letters to the salvage yard that brought up the Piper Maru when it was lost. And maybe the Zeus Faber, this downed submarine. Mulder finds Goodyear passed out on the floor. He sees this like oily sheen on his skin. Mulder goes to look at that before he makes sure the man's okay. And Mulder filled his empathy quota at the beginning of this episode, okay? He doesn't have to be empathetic for another 5 years, all right? So, Goodyear wakes up. Mulder says, hey, you need to tell me everything. And Goodyear pretty much tells him, kiss my ass. I want to talk to the French consulate. Fuck you. Every time someone calls Mulder's bluff when Mulder's trying to throw his weight around, I have an orgasm. So, there's that. So, Mulder leaves. He goes to the salvage yard. He goes to the salvage yard where, he goes to the salvage yard that's on these letters that, Goodyear had that apparently brought up the, Zeus Faber submarine. He goes there and he meets goddamn Geraldine. Let's talk about Geraldine. Okay, Geraldine is the salvage yard secretary. She has legs up to her neck, fierce black hair game, and God, oh God, is she beautiful. I fucking love Geraldine. And fuck this show for killing her off. That's all I have to say. Mulder goes to talk to her. He knows something's up. I love the way he says, did you type this? And she says, I don't type. And she says it like that, and it's hot. Okay. So these goons come to kill her. Mulder's hiding like a little cat. I have more to say on that in just a minute when you meet Krycek. So they come to kill Geraldine. She books it. Here's a funny story. So I got fucking stoned. And I watched this episode of The X-Files and drunk off my ass. And I heard the people coming to get Geraldine talking in French. Legit never realized that these were Frenchmen. And I thought I had put this French translation on my DVDs. So that's a funny story. Basically, the lesson is don't get drunk and watch The X-Files. So... anyway, or do. It's a lot of fun. Just talking from experience. So, Geraldine books it. Mulder books it. And Geraldine hops on a plane to Hong Kong. And she's eating some delicious looking dumplings. Ugh. Ooh, I got some poke and dumplings in the fridge. And they're calling my name right now. So, my spouse got them at Publix. Publix has some legit awesome sushi and dumplings and poke. So, the people, Mulder comes in there. He talks to Geraldine. He's like, hey, I knew you found this submarine and you're like selling these secrets, to the highest bidder. And Geraldine tells him to fuck off. Mulder cuffs her hand to his, drags her out of this crowded restaurant in Hong Kong where guns aren't allowed. And no one bats an eyelash. So, that's believable. He takes her to a hotel, ? A boarding house of some kind. And guess who he meets? That's right. Goddamn Alex Krycek. There are some lovely Alex Krycek moments in this episode. And I eat up every single fucking one like a dog biscuit. All right. So, Krycek starts yelling at Geraldine, who's apparently his partner. Krycek's also selling secrets from the digital tape that was in Anasazi. You might remember that. I like the way the episode just throws in the digital tape, like, oh yeah, also this. Mulder, for some goddamn reason, puts Geraldine in the hallway, still attached to the cuffs, and like he's inside the room with Krycek. Don't know why. Or I might just be fuzzy on the details. Anyway, Krycek's yelling at Mulder. The sexual tension is very great. If Geraldine had lived, her, Mulder, and Krycek would have had some very torrid sex, is all I'm saying. A very torrid threesome, all right? So, there's gunshots. These French goons have killed Geraldine. Fuck you, show. I love Geraldine. Krycek tells Mulder, he's like, I guess she's your partner now. And he just crawls, he yeets out the window like a little cat. And listen to me. I think I know why Mulder and Krycek love each other so much. Why they're so in love is because they're just cats trapped inside of human bodies. Watch the X-Files. Watch Mulder and Krycek. You know, that might be the title of this vlog. Mulder and Krycek are basically cats. Like, that's it. All their behavior, every bit of their behavior, cats. They're cats. They are cats trapped inside of human bodies. Krycek yeets out the window. The French goons are like coming to kill Mulder. They're trying to get in the door to this room. And Goudier's fiance shows up out of fucking nowhere and burns him alive. Because when you're infected with the black oil, apparently you have radiation powers. You become an X-Man? Question mark. Again, this would have been amazing to explore within the show, is the physiology of this black oil. And the writers are just like, LOL, guess not. Again, the X-Files is given all of the best options, and they really choose the worst one. Like, the wasted potential is just the name of the game when we're talking about the X-Files. So, Mulder somehow gets disconnected from Geraldine's body. R.I.P. Geraldine. I love you. I loved you. Okay. I'm your number one fan. Mulder tracks Krycek to the Hong Kong airport, and they get into a cute little scuffle. On my Twitter rewatch thread, they're in a fist fight in the middle of the Hong Kong airport, and no one bats an eyelash at this. And it's not like they're off in a corner. They're by the fucking payphones. People are going back and forth. Why does no one say, like, oh, that's strange. Maybe we should, like, tell someone. Anyway, so Mulder has Krycek up against the wall. He's choking him out. Krycek says, God, Mulder, just finish already. And I'm like, guys, get a fucking room, all right? Like, children are watching this show, please. It should be PG-13 at the worst. So, on my Twitter rewatch thread talking about this little scuffle, I said, now that's what I call foreplay. Mulder has to beat the shit out of Krycek, or Krycek has to beat the shit out of him before they have sex, apparently. Hey, whatever gets you off, boys, as long as it's consensual, right? So, Krycek tells Mulder, like, I got this digital tape from Anasazi. He's like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, remember that. He's like, I got it in a locker, and I got the key right here. So, Mulder, like, grabs it, and Krycek's like, later. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. I've said it before, I'll say it again. There is just as much sexual tension between Mulder and Krycek as between Mulder and Scully, and I'll die on that goddamn hill. Oh my god. Ew. That was gross. I just ate a flower. Yuck. So, that was spicy. That was a spicy flower. Was that a wisteria bloom? Anyway, he tells Krycek, go in the bathroom and get cleaned up. Bad idea. Krycek goes in there. Goudier's fiance is in there. Krycek is peeing, and he sees the diver's fiance's shoe under the stall. And then he looks up, and he sees that it's a woman. And he gives her this really like, mean, disgusted sneer. And I'm like, Alex Krycek, you transphobic piece of shit. No sympathy for you, all right? Fuck you, Krycek. That's all I have to say, you transphobic piece of shit. Anyway, the black oil body jumps into Krycek. It apparently loves Krycek because it doesn't body jump again. And Krycek walks out, and Mulder says, "How are you feeling, babe?" And then he says, "Like a new man." And you see Krycek's black oil bedroom eyes. And then you say, "To be continued." And that's where we're going to stop. We will pick up next week with Apocrypha. So, have a wonderful day. It looks like it's going to rain here in just a hot second. And we will pick up next week with Apocrypha. So, I love you. Mwah!